call me out. But me too. No, he want to spar you. He want to fight me. I mean, either way, we know what the result gonna be. I thought she was bigger than that, and I always been small. But this big, that right there, Liberty City, straight from the county. You know what I'm coming from.
He said straight.
Terence Crawford finally reacts to the IBF, right? He actually reacts this time, and he addresses what's next for him. He gives us some detail as to what's going on with the Errol Spence fight. Hit that like button for your boy William Bushido Boxing. This is where we're going to be for the remainder of 2023. Terence Crawford is in support of his little bro, Shakur Stevenson. As we know, he made weight ahead of his fight with Edmund Dos Santos. Should be an excellent fight tomorrow night. But Terence Crawford gives an update as to what's going on with the Errol Spence Jr. fight. Check it out.
And just to ask about you, we're hearing about the rematch with Spence. What is the latest regarding
Well,
them?
the latest is, we signed and contracted to do a rematch, and that's what it is right now.
Do you know when it's going to be, when we can hear?
I don't got no date right now, but I know that's the next fight that Terence Crawford.
How long do you think it will be before we have some news about that?
I don't know. It's still up in the air, given the fact that Showtime has no longer decided to do boxing. So everything's up in the air right now with that. But nothing's been noted to me that the fight would not happen. So, that's the fight.
And what weight will that be at, Jimmy?
We don't know yet. Well, the contract say 147. So, that's what it's at right now. Who knows? We can decide on 54 or 147. Right now, everything's up.
The hearing Bud had to say is what we expected. It's playing the waiting game. We just playing the waiting game right now. We waiting to see what's going to happen. We haven't heard nothing from Spence from his side of things. But as far as Terence Crawford knows, the fight's still at 147 pounds. There's no 154 unless they discuss it, etc., etc., etc. So we heard from the horse's mouth as to what is currently going on with his situation. But Terence Crawford also gets asked about the IBF. And I couldn't find this particular clip, and salute to Fight Hub TV for the previous one. But Terence Crawford says this about the IBF. According to Michael Benson, he says, quote, "Man, F the IBF and their organization. I don't give up about the IBF," end quote. And that sounded like something Bud probably said. Somebody probably asked him as he was walking by, and this is probably what his reaction was. And this is the reaction that we assumed that he was having. Terence Crawford don't seem to be very fond of the International Boxing Federation. He just don't seem to be fond of those guys. And for whatever reason, they don't seem to be very fond of him. So he just said, it's whatever. I cut ties with it. I'm already achieved the goal that I set out to accomplish. And yeah, I'm two-time undisputed, regardless if I got y'all belt or not. Right? Terence Crawford, at this point, I think he's bigger than the belts. The belts just look really good, right? But something else that got brought up during this scrum, and if anything else pops up, we're going to talk about it live tomorrow, right? We're going to talk about it live tomorrow morning. So be sure to stop in for a potential live show if some more information materializes after I do this particular video. But Andre SOG Ward gives his thoughts on his little bro, Terence Crawford, potential chances in a fight with Canelo Alvarez. Let's check out what SOG had to say.
For Terence, this talk, I mean, maybe a Canelo super fight. Do you think that's too much for him? Would that be too much, biting off too much, or is he skilled enough that he could pull that off?
He can do it, for sure. And to show you that he can do it, Canelo, I don't think Canelo's going to take that.
Really?
I don't think so. You see him saying Terrence's name?
No.
No, I hear. I don't get anything out of that if I beat him. I'm like, oh, it feels like everybody would want to see that.
Yeah, I think it'll sell better than I think any fight that Canelo's had in the last few years outside of probably the Golovkin fight. I don't think Canelo's gonna want to do that. And I talked to T, man. I talked to Terrence. And I said, bro, you getting to that point, bro, where you might be time to do that Andre Ward on him.
And just step away.
Go,
bro. Because at the end of the day, like two-time undisputed, he could become three-time undisputed if he fights Canelo. That's another feat in history. Terence is a businessman. He doesn't get a lot of credit for being a businessman. He's doing big business in Omaha and other places in the world. He can walk away on his own terms. If you don't have a Canelo situation, what else makes sense?
Now, to hear what Ward had to say, he don't think Canelo Alvarez is going to fight Crawford. And it's the same thing your boy Bushido was saying. I don't think that's going to happen. He's not mentioning his name. Same thing I said, right? Come on. Your boy Bushido be on or something, right? And I also said, and HOG said it as well, that he thinks Crawford could beat Canelo. I think he could beat Canelo too. So, yeah, there's a reason why Canelo ain't calling out his name. Like I said earlier on the live stream today, they're not going to want Crawford to have that fight because there's a chance that he can go out there and really style and profile on Canelo Alvarez, and then he'll be in a whole nother realm of boxing. And the powers that be, they just don't want that. He's already did enough. He wasn't supposed to make it this far, and yet here he is. And they don't want him to get any further by getting up in there with Canelo Alvarez and beating his ass, right? They just don't want that to happen. But SOG also said if he can't get nothing else, if he can't get Canelo, what's left for him? He may have to pull a SOG and call it one. That means throw in a towel. That means retire. Yeah, SOG alluded to Terence Crawford retiring from the sport if he can't get a big fight like Canelo Alvarez. What do you guys think about that one? At 36 years old, you know, Terence Crawford is not going to be too much Terence Bud Crawford. So I think we better enjoy Bud while we got him, right? And, of course, there's this thing with Boots Ennis that's still lingering around. I don't know. I think Boots Ennis could be a last option if Crawford feels like he really needs to fight. I mean, you heard what SOG said. Bud don't get credit for him being a great businessman and all the things that he got going on outside of boxing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he really don't necessarily need that type of fight, you know. That'll be something to appease the boxing fans at this point, right? And Crawford, in my opinion, has been doing whatever the fans has asked of him all the way up until the Errol Spence fight, right? But yeah, the Errol Spence fight is the next one for Terence Bud Crawford. And of course, Bud also had this to say about Errol Spence. He says, "We signed the contract to do the rematch, and that's what it is. I don't have a date, but I don't know what's next." It shows the championship mentality that he has. He lost a grueling fight, and he feels it just wasn't his night. He wants to prove to the world that he could defeat me in a rematch. I take my hat off to him. It's always respect, end quote. That's what Bud had to say about the big fish, man. And this is why your boy Bushido wasn't knocking the big fish, man. You know what I'm saying? That was a grueling fight, and Errol Spence was on the receiving end of a one-sided beating, and he took it like a man. He didn't make no excuses. Didn't say nothing. Took it like a G, right? Not no plaster wraps, not this, not none of that. Errol Spence took that loss like a G, and you got to respect it. And then he's willing to get in there again, right? So that says a lot about Errol Spence Jr. character. Despite how that performance was, despite how it went, despite the rift and the wrath between the fans, the heart and the grit of a true champion in a losing effort, right? But he was trying. He was trying to make something happen, right? So I take my hat off to Spence as well, like I've been saying before, right? We don't kick fighters when they down over here on Bushido Boxing. But Errol, the true Big Fish Spence Jr., he got to show me something. He got to show me that he's in a gym trying to make some improvements, because Terence Crawford is a tricky puzzle. And like I tell you guys for years, Terence Crawford, in my opinion, is a bad matchup stylistically for Errol Spence Jr. So they got a lot of work to do. I said before, I feel like those guys was playing catch up with a guy like Crawford, who's very disciplined, who didn't have too many hiccups outside of the ring, not too many spots of inactivity or anything like that. So yeah, they playing catch up, and they got a lot of work to do. But yeah, we're going to see how it plays out. We're going to see what happens. And yeah, that's the latest news with Terence Bud Crawford. Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.